Alec, welcome back to Black Mirror. After all these
Good to be
years.
back. It's good to be back after all these years. After it's been 84 years.
84 years. That's right.
It's been 84.
If you're new to the channel, we previously did reactions to the first three seasons of Black Mirror. But also an interesting thing about this channel is we do primarily Survivor in this slot. So Black Mirror has been on the off. Whenever we finish this season of Survivor, we do a season of Black Mirror. So it alternates like
hmm
that. So it's been a couple months, but we're back to Black Mirror. This is season 4. It's got 6 episodes, so we'll be going for a couple of months here. And it should be interesting, as always. I have seen these
Sure.
episodes, but Alec has not. But I'm taking through, and we're going to have some cool, fun discussions about it, I'm sure.
Much like our Survivor, that's another thing where I have not seen anything and just bringing my way, making my way through
Downtown.
downtown.
And it's one of those things where you can't really preface too much. It's like you don't know what to expect on any given episode. It's
No,
but you did see when I sent you this episode. I'm assuming you saw the title. You see what
yeah,
was the image that you saw?
it was like it looked like a crew on a planet, so it looked very Star Trek.
Very Star Trek looking, huh?
Which is getting me a little excited because I like Star Trek. So
Yeah,
there you go.
I was excited to get this one to get your reaction on that because there's definitely
Yeah.
some shades of that involved.
Mm.
So yeah, let's get into it. USS Callister is the name of the episode. All right, as
Okay.
always, you can click the link in the description to see the highlights of our reaction and come back afterwards for the discussion. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. We got a breaking. We have the break. This is all in the Breaking Bad universe, I
Wow.
guess.
There you go.
Wow.
That's USS
I
Callister.
I just realized I took no
I
notes.
took new notes.
I was enraptured. I mean, it was pretty. Yeah, Aaron Paul. There it was. Yeah, Gamer 691. Aaron Paul.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't even think about it until we started. We're about to start the episode. Like, oh, there's Jesse Plemons in here, and then Aaron Paul at the end. So it's timely.
No,
Well, what do you think? What did you think of the episode?
the episode was that was great. This was really, really scary and dark, and was not it took a turn I wasn't expecting very early. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that was like in terms of like a dark twist in and with like a very interesting and fun homage at the same time. I don't see how you could have done that any better.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that episode. That was great. That might be like a new. I don't know if I would maybe say that's a new favorite, but it's close. It was great. I mean, I can't immediately think of anything that I didn't really like about it. Um,
it's really well done. I was curious your thoughts because it's obviously Star Trek, very Star Trek
mm,
oriented, and then it's like also like video game programming. There's like there's a couple of different layers to it. But then,
yeah.
yeah, it's the mixed with the like what the White Christmas cookie aspect of it too,
Mm,
which is like we've already gone through the clear moral and unethical qualities of that technology. But
yeah.
we're seeing in a full display here how you could truly abuse it in your own freaking personal mod that he made.
Yeah, where he's like going in personally to do that. The thing about the cookie is that that seems to be like an automated thing where they like they like basically simulate your clone to like live for you know like like months to have to do tasks or else, and then from
Mm-hmm.
there they're basically able to break the mind of your clone, to make it so that it's just it responds to whatever task that you tell it to do. Um, and then, but in this time, it's like he has an extra personal. If that's what I remember, I could be remembering that incorrectly, but I seem to remember there being like less of a personal touch. This is almost like he's going down. He's just torturing them himself for kind of the kicks of it. Um, Getting off because he's kind of a beta, I guess is really the only real
Not the
description
beta.
of him. I mean, he just like he's not. He just sort of lets people walk all over him and lets himself be used. And I guess he just, instead of working on bettering himself to not be that way, he just decides to live it out in a
Right.
fantasy world, which is, I guess, a little bit of a cliche to a degree. But I don't think we've seen it. Like I haven't. You don't. I don't feel like we see it as often. Where it's like when they're living out their fantasies, it's usually done as like maybe like a sort of sad kind of thing, but it's never done in like. It's never usually portrayed in a way that's like this sinister,
Right. Yeah, I think
where he's
it's pretty
like
unique.
a monster. Yeah, where he's an actual monster.
Yeah, I like that. Like they took the creep aspect of it and just dialed it up to
Hmm.
11. Like oh, that guy just stares, but then secretly behind closed doors, he's got a whole clone of you like doing his bidding. Uh, and yeah, it's like with the other what White Christmas cookie technology. It's almost like that was more so. We got a little bit of that of like how it was torture, but he would be like,
Hmm.
boom, let me just jump like forward 3 months. But it was really like this idea of it's like out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. It's like these people
Hmm.
would come in and they make cookies of themselves to do their to just run their house how they want it and stuff.
Yeah. Right.
But
Right.
like this one, you got to see more of like literally what it's like in there, and when they get transported in there, and we're not even seeing like the years that must have gone through before that, and like
Right.
it was just the two guys in the beginning, and like the shit he put him through. Which yeah, like I was saying, it's like it's a miracle they still had any sort of like high spirits at all after all that, especially him having to watch his son being thrown through an airlock. So
Yeah, that's like the most messed up.
Jesus,
It's it's almost like the show's like, hey, you think this guy's bad? It's like maybe you think he might be able to be redeemed, but no, we'll just show you just how bad he really is.
yeah. Well, right.
It's
It's
like,
like
wow.
we don't want you rooting for this guy. Like he is. Like don't feel bad for this guy. Like
Yeah,
maybe
do
he got
not,
it.
do
Maybe
not.
he had a little bit rough on the outside, but it's like obviously, you know, you cross the line as soon as you put a clone of someone in there, and then just the layers of he'll take certain ones, turn them into these monsters, and then just throw them on an abandoned planet, and then like he'll take he took his son in there and did that. So it's like Jesus.
There's also this really weird, like, sanitizedness to it, like, where it's like, oh, it's like he's not even using you for your, it's like he's not, like, using them sexually or anything, which is, like, I guess is a better alternative, but it's still, that makes it, like, that makes it more bizarre, I guess, in a way, where it's like that'd be like what you'd expect, right?
Well,
Like you'd expect them to be like, I can't get a, if he's truly beta male, it's like, oh, I can't get a woman, but at least in my fantasies, I can
right.
make them have sex with me or whatever. But it's like it's not in that. It's like he has this very like it's the code of this show where it's
Yeah,
like we
it's
can't
freaking.
have that.
You can see how he's twisted, and his like freaking
Yeah,
morals obviously don't line up because he's like, I got this code.
yeah,
Like he thinks there's some sort of honorableness to it when in like
yeah,
he's obviously not seeing the bigger picture, which is he's literally torturing these people.
yeah,
It's like no, I'm so honorable. I only force them to kiss me after every mission. That's it.
yeah. That's as far as
That's
it
that's as
goes. Yeah,
far as it goes. I mean,
yeah.
that's completely fine, of course.
That's totally okay. Totally consensual.
And you
It's
see, I
totally
asked them, "Will you submit?" It's very clear. They say
yeah,
yes. I'll submit after
yeah.
I make them faceless and gasping for a breath that they can't take. And then I ask them, they submit, and then they say, "Yeah."
And then
So
they say, yeah, of course, yeah. There you go.
it's basically code and whatnot. But it was
Yeah.
really cool. I feel like you never see this as like them like rebelling within. I mean, you see rebellion stories and like overthrowing, but it's like such a twist on it of like the
The program's overthrowing the creator,
yeah,
I guess they're that's, I guess, maybe more or less how he sees them, but they are like legit
right,
clones,
they're yeah,
like not just like the technical, like the real world version of clones. They're like they also have all the
all the
memories
memories.
too
It's fucked.
of their past selves, which is a part which is like that's not really how clones work, but if perfect copies. So Star Trek technology, when you are the way the transporter works is you're literally uploaded into the computer and then transported like as data and then transported down on the planet. So that's like you are being killed and cloned every single time you use the transporter, which is why actually in Star Trek they don't talk about it a lot, but there are people who are very against even in that they're like that don't like transporters. They're creeped out by them, and it's
Right.
like makes a lot of sense when you because when you break it down, it is a little weird.
Hmm.
Which is why, especially in the Next Generation, there's multiple episodes that deal with like transporter snafus and stuff. So, yeah.
Hmm.
But this is if you can look at this as almost like the same sort of thing, except it's like instead of transporting yourself one place to another, it's like you've taken a piece of someone and then made a transporter clone of them and put it in your game, and then you're just messing with it.
Yeah.
So that's just it's so
it's
gross.
it's very gross, and it's not even like
It's
he's just a gross person. He's a creep, and then he just goes and does this when like his own
yeah,
programming. It's like
on his own free
it's one
time.
thing if
He's
this is
just
like
like
a victimless crime kind of thing, but this is like
right,
straight up taking, as if you're taking
right.
that person and forcing them into that situation with all those lived memories. So it's no different than that.
Mm,
It's so it's like way worse.
yeah,
It was interesting in the beginning. Yeah, they just throw you right in. That's like very much in that that decade and the show
yeah,
style, and even the aspect ratio was different.
yep. They have the 4:3 aspect ratio. They've got like kind of like digital noise to make it look like it's being broadcast. It was all very clever, very fun. They did a really good job with all that stuff. Honestly, even they were sort of telegraphing even early on that this was going to be that something's off here because if you're genre savvy or especially if you're Star Trek savvy, you know that like when he commanded them to just kill the guy when his shields were down,
Hmm.
I was like, that's not something that they would ever do. It's like, what? And then they were all like awkwardly congratulating him, like, that was a great move, sir. I was like, was it?
Yeah,
He just murdered
so something's
somebody
a
in
little
cold
off, a
blood.
little off. Or
Yeah,
like they're like
yeah,
praising him on every little thing, you know. It's like, oh.
yeah,
And then you get a quick like a hard cut into him like going into work his regular self, and
mm.
then you just slowly peel it back, and it's
So they peel it back and it all reveals itself. New intern at work. She's kind of cute, but the guy's kind of the boss is his partner, who's actually really more of his boss or whatever. Is like, oh, he's kind of schmoozing with her a little bit more, and
yeah, it doesn't respect
yeah,
him. I mean, it's like it's weird because it's almost like his way of doing these crimes that he probably would have done otherwise. It just happens to have the programming ability to do it in a way that like he's not held accountable. It's
yeah,
like, you hear these awful stories of obviously like people rejecting someone and then they go freaking over the line. They go into stalking and kidnapping and stuff like that. It's like
yeah.
he would probably go that route if he didn't have this technology to abuse in this
Right,
way.
right.
Yeah, it's fucked, but it was nice to see him actually get his like comeuppance at the end there.
He did get his comeuppance at the end. So the only question I have is like the real closure there is so eventually I'm assuming he would be able to get released from the game, but I'm also assuming that once he does, someone will probably like show up at his apartment and be like, "Hey, what's going on?" and then like jack him out of it or whatever, or that killed him.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a little unclear on that
I was thinking maybe
exactly.
they were suggesting that because he had like his mouth open and then
Yeah,
they show his hand. So I
yeah,
feel like maybe
yeah.
it's just like straight up his consciousness
He
only
just died.
exists in that now.
Yeah, yeah.
San Junipero
It's
style.
like, yeah, that's
Except he's
oof.
stuck in that ship in the darkness forever.
Yeah,
Like, okay,
yeah.
you
Well,
abuse that
I kind
technology
of
and
like.
then you get what you asked for.
I guess you kind of get what you asked for in that regard. Yeah, I mean, punishment does sort of fit the crime in that regard. Interestingly enough, in this case, we always talk about like how, especially with like White Bear, where it was like that's a lot. That's like way too much for. I mean, that person did something like horrendous and like unforgivable, but like that's a repeated torture that you're doing to them for the rest of their eternity, and it's like
Yeah.
what's actually more cruel.
Hmm.
And this one is like he's perpetuating this cruelty upon a bunch of clones of people. Apparently he's done it to a lot of people,
Hmm.
like because they're like, oh, all the monsters and stuff are all people that he got upset at or whatever, or didn't weren't obedient. So like
Anybody who slices him even slightly, it messes up his. He got him the wrong sandwich or whatever, and
yeah.
then that
Yeah.
was his go ahead to do that.
It's like, wow, okay. That's messed up. Yeah, he's just sort of a megalomaniac when he's in there, I guess, because he's just living out that fantasy that he would really probably do in real life if he had the actual cojones, but
He's
because
just a
he feels that
weak.
this is such a sanitized place that he do whatever he wants, but it's not. So that's really interesting. It's such a huh.
He's just a weak, small man that is not like he just wants. He'll only give himself that power trip when he's in his own little world. You might say.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I almost thought that was maybe where we were gonna go with it, but then I was like, oh no, we're going to a much darker place than that. It's like, oh. But still, despite it going to a darker place, they were still able to like have the juxtaposition of having this like bright, evenly lit sets, like they would do on on any Star Trek show, where you have these nice even lighting, and you've got bright, colorful sets and uniforms, and and it still works well as an homage, despite that.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe not in spite of it, but like it almost like somehow enhances that. So like they did such a good job of making it feel like a tribute without it feeling like cheap or like pandering, I guess. There are like little nods and references and like clearly to certain things, but which usually caused me to chuckle because I recognized a thing,
Mm-hmm.
referential humor. But it's like, but they weren't being like, remember this. It was very much more like little, like tongue in cheek little winks and nods more than outright parody. It's like a loving tribute, just with a very dark story.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even liked his room and like his how he had like the collectibles and like the VHS, all the space fleet and like
Oh
the
yeah.
stuff on
So
the
like
walls.
yeah, in the real world, yeah, his office was like that was pretty dope.
Yeah.
It's such a it's almost like it's interesting because it's like that is like him hiding behind his whole world is all about that, right? So it's like he's hiding his true self behind that all that stuff. His hobby is collecting and things. So
Right.
yeah,
But it's like I like when they show, well, they're showing even more why it's like this technology would be scary for someone to have that much power, like, and you could like there's so much potential to put people in like horrible situations. Like even if it wasn't just a clone, like you can straight up put people's consciousness in things. And then we
yeah,
see the flaws of even if he wasn't doing horrible things, just the potential for something on the outside to affect him, and then he's stuck in there, or like things
yeah.
like that. Like you're so vulnerable in the real world when you're in there too. You're
Yeah.
completely dialed in. So it's
Well, you're completely vulnerable in the real world, and the fact that there is this technology that allows people to be cloned means that there's no like there's so much of a like how do you can't consent to it, and in a case like this, none of those people wanted to be in there,
mhm.
right? So it's like you have this whole complete like creepy level of that we can just go to with that, where
Yeah.
it's like ugh, you know.
Yep, and this is just one aspect of the awful vile shit you could be doing with this.
Right. Right.
And I do like that they did it was almost like a little shut up and dance to it where they were like she literally
Yeah.
blackmailing herself with it and like
Yeah.
and like
So,
giving
yeah.
her like these orders of things to do. But I mean, like even if he didn't die there, which it seemed like he did, she at the
Mm,
very least they had her go in there and get all this like DNA that he collected of all these people. So that's not a
right.
secret anymore. It's not
Right. So I
like
guess
you.
that
It's
was
not
to
like
like
you'd be able to just go back and do it again. You know.
right. So here's the thing: is like I guess is he just? I mean, he's never going to be. Just I guess he's never going to like be convicted or of anything, or like none of that stuff is ever going to be found out theoretically. I mean,
No.
we do have rogue elements in the world now, which is kind of like a neat little. I think that's just like a fun little like yeah, the heroes won in the end kind of little thing, but
Hmm. Yeah.
like a
So
rogue program in the system. But
yeah, but he's gone. Like
he's
whether
gone.
whether
Yeah,
he's I don't know if he's stuck out there forever or if when they or when they like yeah, I guess he'll probably be on there. He'll just be stuck on the server, I guess.
but if
Um,
they have access to the even though the world was deleted from the web as a whole, if he had backed it up at all anywhere, theoretically, if someone was to plug it in, he would be able to come back. In which case, I feel like any of his reactions would be self-incriminating because all of the stuff that she stole is like gone now, and
yeah, I mean,
you just have to be like, why do you have a lollipop with my son's name on it?
yeah, that's the good
You
thing
know, that
about
would
it.
be
There's no out. Because I was
yeah,
thinking when they're doing this, like, oh, he can just do it again, though. He can go, he loses all of it, he
right,
comes back, and then he'll just collect everyone's DNA, do the same creepy shit again, do it again just with the new clones. But, they actually
yeah,
prevented that. They thought about that, too. It was cool.
yeah,
But these guys, the clones are able to live on in the game, basically.
yeah,
Which is
yeah.
still, we talked about San Junipero. It's almost San Junipero-esque, but even worse because they're stuck in this, like, this, with these limited people in this world,
Yeah,
right? Like, you can interact with people in the online aspect of it, but you're still in the same world that you've been stuck in for so long, just with
it's
that
with
added
people now
on,
that you can interact with.
and you got your
Yeah,
genitals back.
yeah, yeah. For some reason, those are coded into infinity normally. I
I
guess.
guess so. Yeah. So
So,
an aspect of infinity is you can like fuck each other, I
I
guess.
guess. Okay, sure. Whatever.
Gamer guy 691 or what was it?
69 1. That
Yeah.
is six. Nice. And that was just straight up. That was basically just Jesse.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of just exactly what that was at the
Basically.
end.
Nice. It was a
It
nice
was
little
great.
thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, but like we said, if you really go into it, then it's like that's not gonna be. I wouldn't be that happy about that. I mean, it's happy because it's compared to what they had before, but it's like still gonna be
Yeah.
a rough existence.
Right. I mean,
Just
I
not
would have.
torturous, you know.
It would probably would have been better for them if they just, like died, like they wanted.
Yeah, that's kind of what they wanted. But
Yeah.
anything else from this episode?
Music was really great.
Hmm.
That was very, very like
It's a nice
very
touch.
Star Trek, very like, it had that sort of some of the weird like modernistic sort of television. If you analyze music from television, it's in like the 60s, it's very interesting and like um how like simplistic and like unusual melodies and stuff that a lot of it had, and Star Trek is very much no stranger to that.
Hmm.
And so like capturing that perfectly is just so much fun. So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um.
good episode.
Yeah.
Very
Solid
fun,
episode.
very enjoyable. Very yeah. I don't know. It was just a pretty well told story, all things considered.
Jesse Plemons did well in that role. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I
He's good at
was
playing real creepy people. Like
he
he's good
is.
at that.
I was just looking back because I realized, oh, it's time to put it in our rankings of the
Oh, do we
episodes.
do that? Do we do that now?
We do that every episode, yeah.
I guess we do. Forgot about that. I
Uh,
thought I thought we did it usually during our recap, but the recap was for reshuffling, if memory serves, last time.
right.
All right, I do have my list right here.
Oh, you do have your list. I have a list
Hmm.
too. So currently, let me see. Mine was Playtest, White Christmas, Entire History of You, San Junipero, 15 Million Merits, Nosedive, Shut Up and Dance, Be Right Back, What is this? I scribbled hated in the nation, maybe. Yeah, and
Mm.
then White Bear, National Anthem, Men Against Fire, and Waldo Moment. And yours
Yep.
was. You have yours.
Playtest, Playtest, White Christmas, Entire History of You, Nosedive, San Junipero, 15 Million Merits, Be Right Back, Hated in the Nation, Shut Up and Dance, White Bear, National Anthem, Men Against Fire, Waldo Moment.
So
So
first
very
thing,
similar.
yeah,
First three and last three are the exact same, which is interesting. It's just a little
yeah.
different around in there. So
So first off, it's been like 3 months since last Black
yeah,
Mirror season.
yeah.
Is there anything that you would change now, looking at it?
I think this is pretty much where I'm at. I think this is still right around where I'm at. The more I think about Be Right Back, the more I really like it. But I think I still like 15 Million Merits that much more. Um, like basically everything from Hated in the Nation up is pretty much stuff that I really like. Shut Up and Dance, I do while I like it, it's one of the darkest episodes of the show, and it just makes me
You
feel
don't want
bad
to
every time I think
rewatch.
about it. So that's yeah, maybe not a whole rewatch on that. Even though like the performances in that are amazing,
Yeah.
like really great. But yeah, it's just that's probably like the most feels bad episode of the show. So no, I think that's pretty
I
accurate.
think mine's pretty good too.
Still,
So where does USS Callister go though? That's
this is like right around. This is in top three ish territory for sure. For me, it's
I don't
tough.
know. I don't know. For me, it might be a little lower.
I don't, yeah, I don't know if I can crack Entire History of You. That's the thing. That's the thing that I'm sort of stuck on. And I really like Nosedive a lot. I think I'm gonna put USS Callister as number 5 currently. So just under Nosedive.
I'm a very similar spot for on my list. Is either gonna be right above Nosedive or right below it.
Mm,
Okay, I'm putting it right above it. So for me, it would go Playtest, White Christmas, Entire History of You, San Junipero, 15 Million Merits, USS Callister. So that's number 6. For
okay.
me.
So I have it as 5.
You it is
So
5.
mm,
Yeah, I mean basically the whole top half of all Black Mirror episodes is really stellar stuff to me,
yeah, yeah,
at the very least.
for sure. That was very good. I like that a lot.
It's great. You just have to have you. It's been a key that you need to have good programming stuff involved for
That's
Black
right.
Mirror episodes.
Pretty much.
It's not number 1 and 2 at least, but
Mm,
it's cool when they do like little homages. Like Playtest is kind of like a little, um, almost like a Hideo Kojima kind of character with like horror elements. So
mm.
it's nice when they like do homages, but do their own spin on it too.
There was I will say like there are parts of it that were actually like legitimately humorous too, darkly funny.
Yeah, the
Like
writing is
and not
very
in a
like
weird
lighthearted in some parts.
yeah. Yeah, which I guess fits the whole I
Like
guess to a degree fits the vibe of Star Trek.
yeah, I
So
think they only give themselves that liberty for that reason, just because of that. Because otherwise, I don't know if in that situation you would say, "Taking my pussy is crossing the is crossing the line."
the line. It was funny.
Yeah. And he said when he's like in his dying moments, I forget his name. Said "fuck you" to death.
Yeah. What with it starts with a W. I know that, but Weston something like that. I think it's Weston. Yeah, I mean, also another thing about it too, very cinematic, much like Hated in the Nation. It was very like a very cinematic episode. Like it didn't feel very. I guess they've really sort of
Right.
upped their game in that regard because I think Nosedive also has some of the elements to that where that Nosedive feels like there's elements of yeah there's a lot more like cinematic language being used, I guess. Not that there wasn't in earlier episodes, but it feels a lot grander, I guess, in terms of the scale of a lot of scenes and set pieces and just general storytelling through the cinematography. So
Right.
So yeah.
And it's nice with the Netflix format. You can essentially have it as long or as short as you want, so you don't have to like restrict it to a 45-minute episode. This one was like an hour and 15 minutes almost
Mm.
altogether, and it's nice because you don't. First of all, you don't have to put it on like on cable TV, like have little commercial breaks breaking it up, and also you don't have to be restricted in that sense. So it's just like it feels well paced and exactly how they want it. That's the nice part of it, of having that Netflix charm.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, that's gonna be it for this week of Black Mirror. All right, come
I
back
think so.
next
Yeah,
week for
yeah.
another episode. It'll be fun.
All right, sounds good.
In the meantime, what video would you recommend our viewers go watch?
You should go check out our "What If San Junipero Existed" video, our theoretical
All right.
discussion talking about that.
All right. What if
Go check it
USS
out.
Callister existed?
Well, that would be bad.
That wouldn't be good.
Nah, that wouldn't be good.
I mean, like on the surface, like the technology, like
Mm,
it's just like the standard like virtual reality. You can go in and do space stuff. I mean, that's cool in itself, you know. Even with
mm,
VR, like that kind of stuff is cool conceptually to be able to go and have your own space crew and stuff. But just imagine being able to like
mm.
transfer your whole self in there and do your own adventures. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, there's that. The positivity of that is cool to think about. Yeah,
There's just
but
so much room for exploitation, especially when you have
yeah,
the freaking CTO himself as the head
yeah,
creep of the office,
yeah. Seriously. Wow.
and then just like how do you keep yourself safe, like when on the outside world and stuff, all that kind of stuff.
Mm,
But you know, in an ideal world, awesome, awesome. I'd be hopping on there with you right now.
mm.
All right, go run this ship. Just this freaking a whole universe out there too. That's cool. All right, thank you for watching. All right, subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed, like the video, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, click the link in the description for our social media. Okay.
Okay.